Okay, we're ready. There's two other things I want to mention about this expectation business, and that is, if you could fix your expector, it's like the story of the ambulance down in the valley. Did I tell you this story? Once there was a town built up on a high plateau, and it had houses, and I'm drawing this, and trees, and churches, and downtown, a bar, and other horrible things. And then out towards the end of town, a beautiful park. People will walk around in the park and sit on benches and make out, and all sorts of things. But every now and then, some of the people got too close to the cliff, and they fell over the cliff. Splat down in the valley below, and it was getting quite bad. And so the city council met and said, should we put a fence over the cliff or an ambulance down in the valley? Isn't that funny? This is called prevention, right? And this is called a cure. And the funniest thing happened in the city council. Some people said, probably mostly MDs, they said, we need an ambulance down in the valley because it's not the falling that hurts so much as the stopping down below. Isn't that crazy? And here is prevention. This is prevention. Aren't we preventing them as fast as they fall? But they found out that some people would actually climb over the fence or go around the end and fall. So they ended up doing both. But think about this. If you can fix your expector and do your thought detection, you have prevented 1,000 ills, right? Remember the poem I shared with you about mind is the master power? It rules, it makes 1,000 ills, 1,000 fates. We think in secret it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass, right? Thinking things through about expectations, and if you're not smart enough to do it in advance, as soon as you're getting angry or sad, that's the sign. Oh, this has progressed to the feeling level. And now I'm saying things, the word level. Pretty soon I'm going to do something rash. Like yell, hit, scream, right? And so start to detect your expectations. This is a high department of thought detection and thought selection. Expectations. And you usually don't get it until you're getting weird. Once when I was a school psychologist, I went into a classroom, and there was one of my favorite teachers in there, and it was high school, and she was teaching modern problems. And she had 4 teenage girls here, and she said, I'm going to tell you girls a story, see how you would finish the story. And she said, once there was a girl named Millie, and she saved up her money and bought herself a red blouse. And she thought all day in school, because it was Friday and the school dance was that night, about she was going to wear her red blouse. And she thought about how wonderful that would be. And her boyfriend, his favorite color was red, and she bought this blouse. And what was she doing all day? Expectations, expectations, expectations. And she came home from school, and she did some of her homework. She ate her dinner, she got in the shower, and got ready to go to the dance, and went to the closet to get her red blouse. And it was gone. And the hanger that it was on was still poofed out. Her sister had stolen her red blouse and gone off to the dance before her. And then she put the book down, and she says, okay, Jean, what would you do? She said. Her eyes narrowed to little slits. I'd go to the dance and rip it off her back. And she said, you would, huh? And she came next to me. Hey, Karen, what would you do? I'd just go out in the backyard and cry and eat worms. How could anybody be so mean? See, overs and unders. See it? Here's the frustrated expectation. Well, Carol, what would you do? Well, I'd tell my mom. And Dad, he'd beat her. Whoa. And finally they came to the last girl, who was the healthiest and the most unpopular. Because masses their asses, right? And he said, hey, Peggy, what would you do? She looks around and she says, I would change my mind and wear my white blouse and go to the dance and have a wonderful time. And the other three girls said, you can do that? Teacher said, yes, girls. You can change your mind. You made it up in the first place. Who was the one who was dreaming about the red blouse all day? She. You can change your mind. I used to tell my kids, they'd say, well, I want. I said, well, honey, couldn't you fix your wanter? Yeah, you can't do that. You can't fix your wanter. You can fix your wanter. You're the master, not the victim. Random thoughts of the devil's workshop, right? So that was a funny story, and I'll never forget that because it shows the power of thought detection, thought selection in the department of expectations. So that's what we just talked about. The power you have over your expectations, which will help you so much. Now, let's now take your handout, Rules for Being Human. This is one of the nicest little things because it sort of shows the whole business of the Earth School. Remember now, Elisabeth Kubler-Ross, Austrian psychiatrist, was a very great specialist in death and dying. She wrote many books. She sat with many people who were dying. It was some of her work that made people do the near-death experience books. How many ever read Life After Life by Ray Moody? One of the very first books on the 8 million Americans who had had near-death experiences. Now, we talked about them before, didn't we? And we went through the stages, and the near-death experiences show the existence of your spirit self, and that it's timeless and ageless, and that the Earth School is a time warp. That's why inner child work works so great, time warp. You can go back in time and fix your wounds. If the past can ruin the present, as if there's no time, why can't the present go back and heal the past as if there's no time? We did the inner child work, and we had the whole place black, and people were laying all around when we did the visualization. Why were they laying all around? Because your subconscious is bigger when you're laying down. How many missed that? That was really great. Okay, so Elisabeth Kubler-Ross is responsible for things like this, Rules for Being Human. You're away from home in a school. So, and the whole idea is don't die dumb. So here, let's go to the first one. Number 1, it says, Rules for Being Human. Number 1, you will receive a body. How many got that part? And then it says, you may like it or hate it, but it will be yours for the entire period this time around. So God gives you the latest model body complete with computer in your brain, right? And you got it for 80-year, 90-year trip. And just think of all the things you can learn from that body. That's why we have the stages of life that we went over, right? So we pair together time and space, bodies. What happened to your body? What did you learn when you were 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40? See what's happening to your body? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Hello, good to see you today. What will you learn when your body's like that? A lot of things that you don't even know about yet. Patience, yeah. And you'll learn that your body's going to go down and your spirit's going to go up. So don't fuss about it. How many people like their body? How many people hate it? How many people aren't sure? I want a new one. But remember, you chose the kind of body you have. You chose it before you came to give you certain lessons and experiences that you needed. Or some of you have made your bodies that you don't like, right? Okay, I like the quote by Orson F. Whitney, "Oh, how amazed we will be when we die, and the veil is taken from our eyes to see that no amount of suffering was wasted." Your suffering was designed to strengthen certain weaknesses and give you certain experiences that you needed before you came. Look at the big picture. Don't rant and rave about, oh, I hate this body. I wanted a littler one. I wanted a big one. I have split ends. My eyes are too close together. That's why we say never criticize a child's body, never neglect a child's body, never hurt a child's body, and never use a child's body for your unmet needs. Those are the big four. If you'll never do that to your children, and no one ever did, and if someone did one of those four things to you, you've got to close your eyes, go back in the time warp, and fix them. Got that? Don't neglect a child's body. Skin contact needs tons of... Don't hurt a child's body. How many in here have a body that was neglected? How many in here have a body that was used for somebody else's unmet needs? How many have a body that had physical pain for discipline? How many have a body that was criticized? See? Welcome to the Earth School. So you will receive a body. Did you put notes in that first one? All those things we just talk about the body. So in inner child work, you go back, you hold your little girl, you tell her she's beautiful, instead of you have a face only a mother could love, and you. So you give those four things to the child. Take care of the body you have, right? Your body's very precious. God went up on the cross so you could have your body forever. So that's why you should take care of it, not so some jerk will like you. Number 2, you will learn lessons. This is the second part, not just from your body, but from everything. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called life. Why do we say it's full-time? Anyone ever get out of this thing without dying? No. Well, you can sleep, you can watch TV, you can go on a trip, yeah, but you're still in it. Even when you sleep, you're in the Earth School, right? We talk about dreams at night, remember? And dreaming the dream on. It never ends. When God dreams up a school, it'll be a Lulu. Why? So you won't die dumb. You should be grateful instead of complain. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called life. Why is it informal? Because most of us don't even know it. Each day in this school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or think them irrelevant and stupid. That's cool, isn't it? Don't scoff, because someday you'll look back and say, you know, the time I had that hard time, look what I learned, right? Number 3, I love, there are no mistakes, only lessons. That's good, isn't it? Growth is a process of trial and error experimentation. Open every door. Is that right, Teresa? You look in, you try, you figure stuff out, you try a few things. How do you know what you like? Well, you got to try. And then, oh, this isn't for me, right? How many people have tried many different majors in college? How many people have even tried many different jobs? Different husbands, different. You know the ones you like and don't like. You are enrolled in a school. Okay. The failed experiments, this is in number 3, are as much a part of the process as the experiments that ultimately work, quote unquote. All the experiments, whether they're success or failures, are important. Isn't that what we call the CDs? Making sense out of the failures and successes of your life. So that would go with number 3, there are no mistakes, only lessons. They asked me what I wanted to call the CDs. And I thought of that book. So Dr. Laura, Care and Feeding of Husbands, and I wanted to call it Care and Feeding of Your Mind. But we called it getting an A in the Earth School. That's what they're called, success and failure, making sense. And here's how you make sense. They're all learning devices. Your body's a learning devices, failures are learning devices, and your successes are learning devices. Growth is a process of trial. The failed experiments are as much of the process as the experiments that ultimately work. How many people have ever learned by getting an F, a D, a C? There's probably some poor people in here who always got A's. They're going to die dumb. And you know, if you go to a place to get a job that's high up and you want to be an executive and you have straight A's, they'll put your application in the shrink pile. And you'll have to be interviewed by the psychologist. Why? Because people get straight A's usually have a lot of problems. They cause problems for the company. They're perfectionistic, they're upset, they complain a lot, they file grievances. Anyway, so tell your kids, throw in a few B's. Some kids you don't have to tell them. Okay, now we're going to number 4, which is one of my very favorite steps. You got number 4? A lesson is repeated over and over and over until learned. How many people are stuck on one lesson? You just can't get it. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. When you have learned it, you then go on to the next lesson. Oh no! One guy was having so much trouble and he said, I've been praying to God that I didn't want to learn. I just wanted to enjoy my life. I don't want to be in the earth school. You have to. Then you go on to the next one. How many people are aware of some lessons that were presented to them in many different ways, and finally they got it, and a whole new part of life came to them? Good. All these hands? Yeah. So kids have that, you have it, and then you go on to the next lesson. Step number 5, learning lessons does not end. That's true. There is no part of life that does not contain lessons. If you are alive, there are lessons to be learned. That reminds me of the story of the girl that just got married. Remember that? She came down the aisle and said to her mother, "Oh, mother, I've come to the end of all my problems." She was violating step number 5. And what did her mother say? "Sure, honey, but you don't know which end you've come to." Okay, number 6, there is no better than here. Now, when I first read that, I didn't understand it. When your there has become a here, you will simply obtain another there. That will, again, look better than here. You know what that means, don't you? When I was little, we used to sing a song. The bear went over the mountain, bear went over the mountain. Remember this? Bear went over the mountain to see what he could see. He saw another mountain. Another mountain. He saw another mountain, and that's what he could see. Right? So that's number 6. So you say, well, when I get up there, I'm going to be so happy. And then when you get up to it, it's here. And then you say, Now, when I get up there, has anyone ever done that? When I get married, then, one more kid and then I, right? Well, that's here, there. When my husband starts to be nice, then I, when my wife quits nagging me, then I, when I get $1 million, then I'm going to be so happy. Oh yeah? You'll probably lose it. I lost a lot of money once, and my stake president said, "Read the book of Job." He used to say, "Patience, Job." But the neat story about Job is all the stuff he lost, he got back after his lesson was over. I don't know if he didn't get his wife back. His kid maybe got better ones. Anyway, who knows? How many would like some better kids? I raised my hand. Okay. Now, 7. Very, very important. Number 7. Others are merely mirrors of you. Have you ever heard something like that? The things you hate in others can be in you. So, how many slobs hate slobs? How many clean freaks hate? So, others are merely mirrors of you. Let's read it. You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects to you something you love or hate about yourself. So, remember when I said, finish this sentence 10 times or 20 or 30, I hate my negative because she is, or he is, or I hate my negative because it is. Better to call your negative it and never she or he. Always call your real self I. Always call I your real self. Negative, no, that's the negative. And some people say, well, should I call it my negative? Well, try to say the negative. So the negative that you have, the survival skills that you have, often they'll be in others. And when you don't like them, then that'll be this. Cannot love or hate something. Now, I think there's exceptions to that rule because you can also love, well, it says love or hate. Yeah, you can love things in others that are in you. You can love and you can hate them too. That's a great step. So think about each one of these steps. Apply it to your own life and see what's going on here. Number 8, what you make of your life is up to you. That's like that research I read once about you design your brain. It doesn't design you. You design your brain. What you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need. What you do with them is up to you. The choice is yours. And I wrote, don't die dumb. See, we're in a period of behavioral science where we say that it's your genetics, it's your hormones, it's your genes, it's your balance, chemical balance. That's what controls your behavior. If you'll just take our pills, you'll be well. Please pass the dollars, right? So, but we're coming out of that because now we're starting to see that the way you think not only designs your brain and your anatomy of your brain, but that in turn then will make it easier to think. The more you think positively, the easier it becomes until, like the scriptures in section 121, your dominion will flow unto you without compulsory means. Just like people say to me, well, do you pray to Heavenly Father with every breath? And I sure do. I just try and I say, what do you say? And then I say, well, Gene, you never asked me what to say to get depressed or to get anxious or have panic attacks or to be mad and mean and jealous and angry. Well, no, that just flows. You sucker. Your negative flows and your positive you have to whomp and crank, right? So if you would whomp and crank your positive, one day it'll flow as readily as your negative flowed when you were depressed, had panic attacks, blah, 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 blah. What you make of your life is up to you. Number 9, your answers lie inside of you. The answers to life's questions lie inside of you, in your beautiful self. All you need to do is look, listen, and trust. And ask your maker. Don't forget to pray, right? And read the directions.